When the real Gerard Graham Dennis was arrested in Westchester County in February 1949, a list was found among his belongings of robbery targets back in Hollywood. It included Louis B. Mayer, Jack Benny, Olivia de Havilland, Eddie Cantor, Betty Davis, Kay Francis, Dorothy Lamour, June Haver, Ginger Rogers, and Mary Pickford. Confessing about his exploits to the cops, Dennis said he'd pulled off too many robberies to remember. They tried him for a dozen. Convicted, he ended up serving 12 years of an 18-year sentence. Released in 1962, he was featured in news reports as a model example of a new wrinkle in the criminal justice system, giving prisoners time off for good behavior. He'd gotten 6 years knocked off his sentence, but when Dennis walked out of New York's Auburn prison on July 2, 1962, the Royal Canadian Police were waiting. He was deported to Canada and arrested for escaping from jail almost 20 years earlier. But during his 12 years in prison, Dennis had given himself a legal education. Back in Canada, he demanded a jury trial and was acquitted for lack of evidence. Dennis was only 44 when he regained his freedom, and he created a new life for himself, which included a common-law wife and 2 children, whom he supported through an ostensibly legitimate career as a jewelry cutter and designer. And we know this because author Scott Hoover has written extensively on the many lives of Gerard Graham Dennis in his book, Beverly Hills Noir. The director of The Great Jewel Robber, transplanted Englishman Peter Godfrey, is most famous for directing the holiday classic Christmas in Connecticut. Given that he originally performed as a clown before becoming a comedic actor, it's surprising how many films he made in Hollywood that could be considered at least noir-stained. Hotel Berlin, Cry Wolf, The Two Mrs. Carols, The Woman in White, this film, and his final feature, made in 1956, Please Murder Me, in which a trimmed-down Raymond Burr played a defense attorney, sort of a test drive for his long-running role as Perry Mason. Watching this film again reminded me that I once had a gig ghostwriting the memoir of one of the nation's most notorious jewel thieves. I'm not going to name the guy, although I'm pretty sure he shook off this mortal coil a couple of years ago. He wanted me to condense a ton of tape-recorded interviews into a kind of one-man Goodfellas so he could make a fortune selling his story to the movies. He ended up cutting me loose because I didn't write fast enough for him. Hey, George, you want me to write on a deadline? Pay me. All I ended up getting out of it was a crash course in breaking and entering high-rise apartment buildings, which I've had no need to put into practice. Yet. Next week, I'll have another in our recent run of little-known noirs. It's a Columbia picture from 1947 from a script by Martin Goldsmith, the guy who wrote the source stories for Detour and The Narrow Margin. Chester Morris, alias Boston Blackie, stars in Blind Spot, a clever little movie you might consider a locked room noir. And I promise you, there will be a dead body. Let's meet back here next week to find out the identity of that unlucky stiff. Until then, see you in the shadows.